So today I'm going to be a little bit less exciting, a little bit less amped for some upcoming mods, because today I'm showing you work in progress mods that are still work in progress and maybe forever. I've made almost 200 episodes of upcoming mods at this point, and naturally throughout that series I've covered many different mods and a lot of them never came out. Some of these are still a work in progress, with people diligently working on one stage of it, whether it be the animations or the textures or something or another, but a lot of the other ones just seemingly got abandoned and we haven't seen updates in either over 6 months or years. That's kind of my criteria for this. It's something that I haven't heard anything about for at least 6 months, but most of them over a year. Either way, they all looked amazing, and maybe this video will spark new life, bring people to become interested in it again, or maybe even have someone take up the project where the previous mod author left off. Either way, I'm here today to show you 8 amazing mods that were never released. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like or a comment on this video, but otherwise we're just going to jump straight into it. Starting things off, we do have the Mark 41 Gyrojet. This is by the Rizzler. He was actually featured very recently in Creation Club, as well as he's been most recently working on the Lear. That being, of course, the notable piece of equipment from Fallout New Vegas. The Gyrojet was pretty iconic and unique because it didn't fire a typical bullet. It actually did something a bit different, firing a small missile, more or less. As you can probably tell by some of the images, it was meant to be a heavier piece of equipment, something that would be a little bit bulkier but hopefully pack a pretty powerful punch. And actually some of the close-up screenshots actually showed you precisely what projectile would be coming out of this, and hopefully you could tell it's pretty unique, definitely a little bit more different than what you have in Fallout 4 right now. I really like this concept and theme. It felt very Fallout in a way, abstract and unique, but still based in reality. And I personally felt this would be something awesome to have in Fallout 4 to kind of flesh out some of the higher end pieces of equipment categories because they were pretty lacking. And imagine having this as a late game alternative to the typical AR. That would have been pretty awesome and definitely a little bit more special. As of right now, the way this sits is totally complete, just without animations. So this may be one, although pretty much abandoned at this point, that we may see getting a release at some point in the future. So we do have the 12.7mm SMG. This one I was super hyped for because it was by Synthropo. This is a mod author that was actually going back to some of the previous Fallout games and releasing pieces of equipment from those. They were all very simple and actually doing a great job at fleshing out the early levels of Fallout 4. Some of the things he did get around to releasing were the miniature versions of the grenade launcher, the flamer, things like that. They were like smaller, weaker counterparts of their big brothers that did appear later in the game, and I felt like this could be another one of those. Something that was viable very much so at the early levels, but maybe tapered off as you get to mid to late game. Plus it looked really cool. This of course being iconic from the previous Fallout New Vegas, bringing to the table that pretty unique ammo type at 12.7mm, I felt like it would be something really interesting to get in Fallout 4. Unfortunately, on this one at least, it doesn't seem like it's coming out anytime soon, as he's actually moved on to something a bit more interesting with the Mesmetron. I vividly remember being quite excited for this one, especially on the early days of upcoming mods. This was Pilgrims End. It was meant to be a new quest or expansion mod, bringing in a bunch of samurai equipment and pieces of armor into Fallout 4 and potentially some new quests. They actually had a team behind it as well as their own website. That is all gone now. Well, at least the website's all gone. We do still of course have the images of the stuff they are working on. You of course can see tons of different pieces of equipment, some of them very unique, going for a very Fallout style, kind of very similar to some things we have right now. But the thing I was super hyped for was that samurai power armor. I thought that was such a cool and unique idea at the time, and actually having some quest where maybe an old samurai or someone that was immortalized was wearing it would be really special and interesting. Unfortunately, as you could probably guess by its featuring in this series, this has been long gone, the last update being from 2016. Definitely an interesting one. I'd love to see this get revived and actually get some of this stuff released because it seems like they actually had quite a bit of progress done, but either way, something that we can look back at and reminisce on. So this one's super simple, but something that I really was excited for personally. That's going to be the Spaz 12, and it's actually labeled as the Spaz 12 Finished. This is by Millennia. He's actually only released like 1 or 2 items for Fallout 4, but actually worked on a lot of other things. He had a massive pack for Fallout New Vegas that a lot of people probably know him for, and also a lot of work in progress pictures for Fallout 4. I'm just showing you one of them here, but there's a ton of alternatives that if I showed you, you'd be quite sad that none of them got released. The Spaz 12 is awesome, and frankly, I think a lot of people agree with me. I know my memory of this comes from those epic scenes in Jurassic Park, and having that back in Fallout 4 I thought would be awesome. So awesome that some of the other things that had a similar style to this actually got a lot of downloads and support, despite not being of the utmost quality. I think this one would have been on the next level. The PT2O, which Millennia actually has released, is still one of the best looking mods in that category that we have right now. Unfortunately, all we really have for this one is this image to look at. Another one that I featured all the time in the early days of upcoming mods was DIZZASTERJUICE and his airy CBBE and really just counterparts of this. He actually released a few mods from Ares. I believe this is actually like a comic book or anime or something like that. But either way, the idea behind this was, or the core idea was actually to create a CBBE or like body type in Fallout 4 that you can download that would actually be a cyborg. We got a lot of images and a lot of progress that he did make on this. It seemed like you could potentially start the game using this body type, or right after starting the game switch your character to this, and I just thought that idea was quite unique and interesting. It's almost like having different races in Fallout 4. I guess you'd have two races, and especially with the Institute in Fallout 4, it kind of made a lot of sense, even though not necessarily being lore friendly. Unfortunately, again, this one has kind of faltered off. He's still active on Nexus, but we haven't gotten an update on this one since the summer of 2017. And even the beginning of summer 2017 at that. Either way, I still remember featuring him all the time in the early days of upcoming mods. He definitely had a pretty substantial part in the building of this channel, so hopefully we will get this one day. This is one that I personally really wanted, probably more so than any of the other ones on this list. This is a work in progress by Fading Signal, who continues to be probably my favorite mod author for Fallout 4 just because of the versatility of the different things he puts out. He's put out equipment mods, he's put out new game-changing mods, and a lot of his mods just take a little bit of a different approach or are the best in their category. Well, when he said he was going to be working on some armor or uniforms for the Diamond City security going with that Boston police look, I was very excited. I thought that was an awesome idea, and this was shortly after he released the canine outfit for Dogmeat, so it kind of made a lot of sense for him to go this way. Unfortunately, as you could probably guess, he never ended up releasing this. And even beyond that, we actually never got any updates beyond this one. Some other mod authors have come forward and actually produced things of a similar nature that definitely are high quality, but I feel like they're just not the same as this. If you ever use some of his other mods, they're typically very modular and have a lot of customization, and I feel like that would have been an awesome feature to have on your Diamond security, and maybe even a quest to get this special armor. Hopefully someone does bring that to the table quite soon. Obviously we just got Militarized Minutemen, which has a lot of similar functionality for that faction, but until then we have this cool picture to look at. So we actually have the M20. This is going to be a little compact piece of equipment that seemed like it would be kind of in the pistol category or the machine pistol category. I really like this, and I don't know, I thought it was an interesting concept. This is something else that we don't have a lot of in Fallout 4. If you think of compact, highly automatic pieces of equipment that appear in the game, there's very few options, and even with modding, there's only a couple of things out there right now, and many of them were not this compact. I felt like this had a unique design. It was a little bit more futuristic than some of the stuff appearing in Fallout 4, but I don't know, I just thought it looked cool. I also was quite excited because we actually got some in-game screenshots of it, which, you know, that's typically when it's fairly certain that it will be getting an actual release. Once you get a step beyond those art studio pictures, it typically is a good indicator of when something will actually be downloadable. Unfortunately, this one never came out. It was by Trophy Hunter, who's working on some other things right now, like the G98, and he did release the MP40, which continues to be, in my eyes, one of the most interesting equipment mods for Fallout 4 due to the customization of it and the different versions that exist for it. Unfortunately for the M20, I don't think we're ever going to get this one in game. It was unique design and concept, but maybe it's better left outside of Fallout. So last but not least, we do have the Institute Power Armor. Flipdark 95 is another one that has a lot of work in progress content, but only a few releases. That's okay, obviously these guys are doing it for free and as a hobby, so that's kind of to be expected. But either way, one thing I was more excited than anything else from him was the Institute Power Armor. Obviously we have one of those right now. I very recently covered some mods that actually update it further, but Flipdark's mod actually seemed to be taking it to the next level and actually bringing in even more customization. I remember him saying how he was trying to plan a feature where you could have like different helms or kind of chest pieces for this, and depending on which one you use, it would actually have different functions for the armor. I love that concept, and I feel like this one just looked a lot cooler than M150's version. If you guys don't know, the Institute Power Armor actually is from the concept art of Fallout 4. Bethesda was planning on adding it to the game, but for whatever reason they decided to leave it out. And although M150's version's cool, I feel like it was fairly basic. This one, or at least the plans for this one, were a little bit more complex and a little bit more exciting. But with that, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. As always, I do hope you guys enjoyed. This is a little bit more of a morbid video because obviously I'm showing you a bunch of content that you can't actually download, but hopefully you found it informative or inspiring if you're a mod author anyway. Maybe send one of these guys a message and see if you could take over their mod. If you're an animator, maybe they're just waiting on animations like the Gyrojet and you can actually jump in and save the day. But either way, for a psych fun fact of the day, I actually learned something very interesting today in class, in fact. So I'm taking this class, Behavioral Neuroscience. It's a mistake probably because I don't actually need it and it's a very hard class. I'm not a neuroscience major and I don't plan on going for that, but that's a different story. Either way, in the class we're learning about hearing and like how hearing is processed in the brain. So like pretty obviously, if there's a sound to the right of you, how do you know to the right? Well, it might hit your right ear before your left ear. Your brain realizes this, even though you might not consciously realize it, and processes that sound as being to the right. So like if you snap your fingers on your right side right now, your brain will know it's on the right side because your right ear hears it first. So that kind of explains how you know where things are in an XZ plane, but how do you know if things are above or below you? Well, it turns out, and I honestly never knew this until today in class, your ears are actually at slightly different tilts. So like if you go and look in the mirror right now, or look really closely, or maybe Google a picture of this, maybe I'll put one on screen. One ear is actually tilted slightly more up, so if a sound's above you, it'll hit that ear first, while the other one is tilted slightly more down. I truly never knew this, and I know I probably looked at my ears many times in real life. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. If you're feeling a little sad after watching this, seeing all these unreleased mods, you could actually check out this other video I put out, 8 lesser known mods that are worth a download for Fallout 4, so some mods that you may have missed but are still pretty awesome. As always, again, I thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed as always, and I hope to see you guys all next time. Later.